The city of Chicago remembers its legends, but it never tells the full story. Every mural, every candle, every tattoo that says "Long Live Vaughn" hides something deeper. Because behind King Vaughn's legacy lies a truth that even his closest family members won't speak about publicly. The streets called him a hero, the labels called him a star, but the people who knew him best called him something else, a warning. This isn't just another story about fame, street codes, or a tragic end. This is about what really happened after the lights went out and the world started rewriting his story without him. For years, fans believed they knew King Vaughn, loyal, fearless, and misunderstood. But as time passed, cracks began to show. Family members started saying different things in interviews. Old friends began keeping their distance. And recently, a chilling set of leaked messages and private footage from someone close to Vaughn's circle reignited questions that the public thought were buried for good. Why are certain files sealed? Why did the people closest to him suddenly disappear from the spotlight? And what are they all trying so hard to protect? Tonight, we're peeling back every layer. Because the truth about King Vaughn's legacy isn't what you've been told, it's what they've been hiding. The story of King Vaughn didn't end the night he died, it only changed chapters. For the world, his passing was a tragedy. But for those who knew him personally, it was the beginning of a battle that hasn't stopped since. A battle for control, for money, for memory, and most of all, for truth. After Vaughn's death in Atlanta, tributes poured in from every corner of the rap world. Candlelight vigils, street murals, emotional posts from artists and fans who felt like they'd lost one of their own. But behind the tears and hashtags, something darker was forming. While fans cried for justice, people close to Vaughn started quietly making moves, securing rights, locking files, signing papers. It was grief mixed with business, and the combination was toxic. At the center of it all was Vaughn's family, his mother, his sisters, and a handful of cousins who had been with him since the very beginning. In the months after his death, they were united by loss. But money has a way of testing loyalty, and soon, whispers began spreading about who was really in charge of King Vaughn's legacy. According to sources close to the family, the tension started with something small, an argument over who controlled Vaughn's unreleased music. There were hundreds of files, half-finished tracks, collaborations with names that could shake the industry. Some were saved on laptops. Others were backed up in studios. And then there were a few, maybe the most personal ones, that no one could find. One engineer claimed Vaughn had told him, "Don't let nobody touch my stuff if I ain't there." But after his death, that's exactly what people started doing. Within weeks, multiple unreleased songs began leaking online. Each leak carried the same tag, for the fans. But insiders knew it wasn't generosity, it was business. Someone somewhere was cashing in on Vaughn's name. And the family wanted to know who. Vaughn's mom, known to fans for her strength and transparency, decided to confront the people she thought were responsible. She called a meeting, quiet, private, off-camera. According to someone who was there, it didn't stay quiet for long. Voices were raised. Accusations flew. At one point, she reportedly said, "My son died for his loyalty. Don't you dare use his name for greed." But it wasn't that simple. The truth was messy. Labels, managers, and third-party investors were all tangled in contracts that Vaughn had signed while alive. Some claimed the rights belonged to the label. Others said the family deserved everything. Lawyers got involved, paperwork got lost, and the energy around Vaughn's legacy started to feel less like mourning and more like war. And while the adults were fighting over ownership, fans began noticing something strange. Vaughn's old Instagram posts started disappearing. Entire photo albums gone overnight. Clips that once showed him with his day ones suddenly vanished. It was like someone was erasing parts of his history. A producer close to OTF told a podcast, "Man, the stuff being deleted ain't random. It's the moments that tell too much." When pressed on what too much meant, he just said, "Look at who's in the pictures. You'll see." Fans did see. They went digging, and what they found turned social media into a frenzy. Old clips resurfaced showing arguments, studio disagreements, and subtle shade between people who used to call each other brothers. It painted a picture nobody wanted to admit was real, that King Von's circle had fractured long before his death. Then came the first major twist. A year after Von's passing, a relative went live and claimed that certain people around Von had robbed his estate blind. The live went viral instantly. Within hours, Von's sister jumped online defending the family. "Stop spreading lies about my mama," she said. "She the only one doing right by him." But as the comments flooded in, fans noticed she didn't deny that money had gone missing, only that her mom wasn't the one taking it. The internet ran wild. Every account with Von's name in its bio started speculating. Some said the label had kept millions in royalties. Others said the family had hidden the truth. And buried in all that noise was a single detail that most people overlooked: a quiet mention of a missing hard drive. That hard drive, according to insiders, contained not just music, but footage. Personal footage. Von's own behind-the-scenes recordings, voice notes, and private conversations. Some of it was reportedly recorded weeks before his death. And then one day, it was gone. The engineer responsible for that drive claimed he handed it to someone from the team. He wouldn't say who. But a few days later, he stopped answering calls. 2 weeks after that, his studio mysteriously shut down. Fans called it coincidence. Insiders called it cover-up. Meanwhile, Von's family tried to move forward. They started a foundation in his name, organized community drives, and promised to keep his message alive. But even those efforts weren't safe from controversy. Reports surfaced that funds raised for the foundation weren't being properly accounted for. The same blogs that once celebrated Von's legacy started asking uncomfortable questions. Where's the money going? Who's really running this? Von's mother went silent on social media for weeks. When she finally returned, she looked exhausted. "Y'all don't know half the pain I carry," she said in a live stream. "They taking my baby's name and turning it into business. That's not what he died for." Her words broke hearts, but they also raised eyebrows. Who was they? Theories exploded overnight. Some said it was Dirk and OTF. Others blamed management. A few even turned on the family itself. Every side had its version, and none of them matched. Then a new player entered the scene. An anonymous blogger who claimed to have inside documents linking Von's estate to offshore accounts. The blog posted receipts, emails, and transaction screenshots that allegedly showed royalties being redirected to unknown entities. Whether real or fake, it didn't matter. The internet believed it. Suddenly, King Von was trending again, not because of music, but because of mystery. Fans started tagging major news outlets, demanding investigations. But no one official ever commented. And then came the most chilling twist yet. A clip surfaced online, Von's voice, in what sounded like a voice memo. In it he said, "If anything happened to me, don't let nobody use my name for their come-up." The clip was short, shaky, and unverified, but it spread like wildfire. People swore it was real. They said Von had predicted everything. The family called the clip fake. The label said it was manipulated. But the streets didn't care. They believed it. Because in Chicago, every legend becomes a prophecy. From that point on, nothing felt sacred anymore. The family's grief became content. The fans' love became a conspiracy. And Von's legacy, the thing everyone claimed to protect, became the very weapon used to tear them apart. But this was only the beginning. Because just when it seemed like the truth couldn't get messier, another leak appeared, one that would force even Von's own blood to question who they could trust. The leak that shook everything came from an account called @Backdoor Files. No face, no name, just a profile picture of a Chicago skyline and the caption, "Truth don't need permission." The first post was simple, a blurred screenshot of an email thread allegedly between a record label executive and a member of Von's family. The subject line read, "Royalties and control, urgent." Within hours, it was reposted by every gossip page across the internet. According to the email, someone had transferred partial rights to Von's unreleased catalog into a private company formed just weeks after his death. The recipient's name was hidden, but the date and metadata were verifiable. The revelation caused chaos. Fans started connecting dots. accusing everyone from OTF insiders to family members of selling out Vaughn's legacy for cash. But what made this leak so explosive wasn't just the paperwork, it was what came next. The same account dropped a second post, a short, grainy video clip of what looked like Vaughn's studio, filmed the night of his last recording session. In it, he's laughing, surrounded by his team, but then he looks straight at the camera and says, "If I ever go, tell Ma I left everything in the black folder." That phrase, the black folder, set the internet on fire. Within hours, every fan page and blogger was asking the same question: what's in the black folder? Vaughn's mother, when asked about it during a live stream, seemed startled. "What folder?" she said. "Ain't no folder." But her reaction, the hesitation, the quick deflection, only made people believe it was real. Theories started spreading like wildfire. Some said the folder contained unreleased music that proved Vaughn planned to start his own label separate from OTF. Others claimed it held personal messages, bank details, or even video evidence connected to his death. The family dismissed every theory, but that didn't stop the noise. Then came an even bigger bombshell. A journalist from an underground blog called Trap Truths released a 15-minute documentary-style video claiming to have inside access to Vaughn's family circle. They showed voice notes, screenshots, and a mysterious contract signed under Vaughn's name just days before his passing. The document mentioned management restructuring, a move that, if true, would have given Vaughn full control over his masters and creative rights. But the date was suspicious. The contract was dated 2 days before Atlanta. How could he have signed this if he was already on tour? The journalist asked, holding up the paper. Somebody forged it, or somebody backdated it. The video exploded. Millions of views in 24 hours. Fans flooded the comments section. This explains why they're fighting over his estate. Vaughn saw it coming. They robbed him before the streets did. The pressure on the family became unbearable. Vaughn's mom deleted her social media again. His sister went live crying, saying, "Y'all don't understand. We just want peace." But the peace she begged for never came. Behind closed doors, lawyers were making moves. A quiet investigation began into the handling of Vaughn's assets. Some insiders claimed the family was being misled by outside advisors, people who saw dollar signs in grief. Others claimed OTF still controlled everything, despite public statements saying otherwise. No one could agree on what was true. Then came the strangest twist of all. The black folder appeared. A producer named Aunt G went on record in an interview saying he found a folder labeled V-Day 1 inside a storage unit once rented under Vaughn's name. The folder allegedly contained handwritten lyrics, voice notes, and photos never before seen. He claimed he turned it over to the right people, but refused to name who. Fans demanded proof. When none came, theories turned darker. Some said Aunt G sold the contents privately. Others claimed the folder was taken by Vaughn's own relatives before the truth could come out. But one thing became clear: someone was profiting off the mystery. Merchandise started popping up with phrases like "the black folder lives" and "long live Vaughn, the real story coming soon." People were making money off speculation, off grief, off a man who wasn't there to defend himself. Meanwhile, Vaughn's old crew members started speaking out, not in interviews, but through music. Several OTF affiliates dropped tracks filled with cryptic bars that fans immediately connected to the ongoing drama. One verse said, "They screaming Vaughn name, but they eating his plate," while another warned, "Family switch fast to the knops with a case." Each lyric felt like a jab, and every song reignited old wounds. And yet, Dirk stayed silent. His social media turned into motivational quotes, gospel lyrics, and vague captions like "God watching." Fans begged him to speak, but he never did. Silence became his defense. Still, rumors spread that he and Vaughn's family weren't on speaking terms. One insider claimed that after the funeral, Dirk tried to step back from handling business with Vaughn's estate, saying, "I can't fight family." Others said the opposite, that he was still overseeing things behind the scenes, making sure nobody tarnished Vaughn's name. Either way, the disconnect was obvious. Then, the unthinkable happened. A second anonymous video surfaced, this one showing snippets of Vaughn's unreleased songs playing in a dark room, filmed on a shaky phone camera. You could hear his voice crystal clear, followed by someone off-screen saying, "Don't tell nobody where this came from." The caption read, "He left everything in the black folder." The clip went viral instantly. But this time, fans weren't excited, they were angry. They demanded justice, transparency, accountability. "Stop using his death for clout," one comment read. "We want the truth, not clicks." Vaughn's mother reappeared online the next day. Her voice was heavy, tired. "I don't know who y'all think I am," she said, "but I'm not fighting for money. I'm fighting for my son's name." But the internet didn't listen. It never does. From there, the story spiraled beyond anyone's control. Leaks, interviews, fake documents. The line between truth and rumor completely vanished. Some claimed the black folder contained Vaughn's personal journal. Others said it was proof he'd been planning to leave OTF. A few even claimed it was connected to something darker, a list of names tied to his final days. Blogs milked it for views. YouTubers dissected every rumor like detectives. Fans became investigators, turning Vaughn's legacy into an unsolved mystery that no one could walk away from. Behind the scenes, people close to Vaughn began disappearing from social media. Pages wiped clean. Accounts deleted. One of his closest childhood friends, known as a Mo, posted a single story before vanishing. "I said too much already." It was the last anyone heard from him. And then, silence. For almost 3 months, nothing new came out. No leaks. No posts. No music. It felt like the storm had finally passed. But in truth, it was just the calm before the next eruption. Because one night, a YouTube channel with less than 2,000 subscribers dropped a video titled "The Black Folder Full Story." It claimed to show everything Vaughn had recorded about his career, his relationships, and his fears. The thumbnail featured Vaughn's face, edited in black and white, with the words, "He tried to warn us." Within an hour, it had 500,000 views. Within 2 hours, it was gone. Deleted. Copyright strike. But by then, it didn't matter. The damage was done. Clips had been downloaded, reposted, shared. The myth had grown. The truth, whatever it was, no longer belonged to the family, the label, or OTF. It belonged to the internet. And for the people still living with his name on their hearts, that was the cruelest betrayal of all. Because King Vaughn wasn't just a rapper. He was a son, a father, a friend. And now, his story was being rewritten by strangers chasing views. By the time that mysterious video disappeared, King Vaughn's name was back on every feed, every podcast, every trending list. But this time, it wasn't the kind of fame he fought for. It was chaos, and the more people tried to honor him, the more fractured his legacy became. The Chicago streets that once screamed his name with pride now whispered it with questions. People were picking sides like it was a neighborhood war. On one end, Vaughn's family, heartbroken, defensive, trying to hold the narrative together. On the other, his old crew, wounded, bitter, and convinced the truth was being buried under contracts and lies. And then came the night that blew the story open again. A live stream popped up out of nowhere. No title, no intro, just a shaky camera pointed at a dark table. The voice was unmistakable, Vaughn's sister. "I'm tired of the lies," she said. "Everybody using my brother's name like it's a brand. They selling shirts, albums, interviews, but nobody talking about who he really was. You think you knew him? You didn't. None of y'all did." Her words hit hard. She spoke about fake friends, unpaid debts, and industry snakes who smiled in Vaughn's face while planning their escape behind his back. At one point, her voice cracked. They stole everything, even his story. Within minutes, tens of thousands of viewers were watching. Some cheered her on. Others accused her of exploiting Vaughn just like the rest. But what came next silenced everyone. She reached off camera and pulled out a black folder. The room froze. Even through a screen, you could feel it. She laid it on the table and said, "This is what everybody's been talking about." The comments exploded. "Open it. Prove it. That's fake." But she didn't open it. Instead, she looked straight into the camera and said, "Y'all ain't ready for what's in here. Because the truth don't make nobody look good. Not family, not friends, not labels." And just like that, the live stream cut off. The internet went nuclear. Screenshots of the folder flooded social media, each claiming to know what was inside. Some said it contained Vaughn's journal, others said it had signed papers proving who was controlling his masters. One wild theory even claimed it held a list of people Vaughn no longer trusted. That night, #the Black Folder trended worldwide. But the truth was still missing, and the silence from Vaughn's mother only added fuel to the fire. She didn't go live. She didn't post. She didn't even deny it this time. Days passed, and every second of her silence made the story feel bigger, darker, and more real. Then, after a full week, she finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but there was something different in her tone, a kind of exhaustion that no mother should ever have to carry. "I'm not doing no more interviews," she said softly. "My son's gone. Y'all keep asking for the truth, but y'all wouldn't believe it even if you saw it. Let him rest." But the internet doesn't rest. A popular gossip channel released another exclusive, claiming that the Black Folder had already been sold to a documentary company for millions. They even showed blurred contracts and alleged voice notes from producers negotiating rights with Vaughn's family. The family denied it, of course, but the damage was irreversible. Fans began questioning every move they made, accusing them of selling out Vaughn's memory. Even worse, fake files started circulating online. AI-generated voice notes, edited screenshots, and fabricated messages claiming to be Vaughn's last words flooded social media. The truth had been drowned in noise. And while everyone was busy chasing the next rumor, the people who actually loved Vaughn were falling apart. His childhood friends stopped talking. The family barely spoke. The team that once moved as one had scattered into silence. Dirk, who had avoided speaking for months, finally broke his silence during a concert. Between songs, he looked out at the crowd and said, "Y'all keep saying Vaughn's story ain't done, but he already wrote it. We just keep changing the ending." The crowd erupted, but those words lingered long after the music stopped. That moment became the closing line for every documentary, every podcast, every video that tried to make sense of the madness. Because deep down, everyone knew this wasn't about a folder anymore. It was about guilt, grief, and a legacy too big for anyone to control. Weeks later, a final twist hit the headlines. A filmmaker announced an upcoming documentary titled King Vaughn, The Untold Files. In the trailer, flashes of the Black Folder, unseen footage, and interviews with unnamed insiders played over Vaughn's voice saying, "You can't fake real, they'll see it in time." Fans couldn't believe it. The same folder the family swore they'd never open was now part of a multi-million-dollar production deal. That night, Vaughn's sister posted one final message: "If you can't protect the truth, might as well sell it." Then she deleted her account. The story came full circle. The truth, whatever it was, had been traded, twisted, and sold. The boy who rapped about loyalty had become the face of betrayal, not by choice, but by circumstance. But even after all that, something strange happened. Vaughn's music kept growing. His name, his sound, his energy, they refused to die. In a way, that's what made him immortal. Not the folder, not the drama, but the pain and pride that lived inside every lyric he ever wrote. Because for all the chaos surrounding his legacy, one truth remained. King Vaughn built something real, too real for the industry, too raw for the system, too powerful to be forgotten. And maybe that's why everyone still fights over his name. Because what he left behind wasn't just music, it was a mirror. And nobody wants to face what it shows. So now that you've heard it all, the family drama, the leaks, the Black Folder, the betrayals, one question still remains. What's the real truth behind King Vaughn's legacy? Was it stolen, protected, or rewritten? Maybe the truth was never meant to be clean. Maybe it's a story about how fame exposes everything: love, loyalty, greed, and how grief turns those things into weapons. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe Vaughn's legacy isn't in any folder or contract. Maybe it's in the hearts of the people who still play his music like scripture. But that's the thing about legends. They don't rest easy. Their stories live forever, shifting and reshaping until everyone who once knew them is gone. And the people who claim to protect their truth often become the ones who rewrite it. So what do you believe? Was the black folder real? Did his family protect his name or profit off it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No holding back. And if you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that expose the truth behind the headlines, and turn on notifications, because the next chapter might already be unfolding right now. Because this isn't just King Von's story, it's a warning. In the game of fame, loyalty is currency, and betrayal never sleeps.